Welcome back to Leadership Lifestyles. And today we have the amazing pleasure of having Sorinne Ardeleanu. Sorinne, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to connect with you and your audience and just see where this goes.
We are so excited that you took some time for us, and I know you have such a busy schedule. So let me tell you folks a little bit about this amazing person in front of us here. Sorinne has an amazing background in sales, healthcare, executive coaching, and spirituality. And she's using it all this year for a huge leap, people. I must say, it's a true example and inspiration for how a leader can step into his or her own power to truly change the world. Sorinne is running for office in November. Is that freaking awesome? That's awesome! Sorinne, so tell us a bit about your story and experience before you decided to actually run for office.
Sure. So I am an only child of immigrant parents who came here from two different communist countries in the 70s, and just kind of painting a picture of the background. And, my father literally risked his life for freedom running across the border. And he said a guard turned his back and he didn't get shot. So he was very fortunate that he was able to come out of Romania alive and to make it to the United States. My mother's journey was a little bit more peaceful, but still she came over here by herself, and they didn't have much, and they met in New York, where a lot of immigrants met back in the 70s, and that's where I came from. Um, I ended up getting exposed to religion at a very early age. And so theology has been a big interest for me because initially I was very turned off by the hypocrisy that I found in organized religion. And so I didn't want anything to do with it. But as I became older and more curious about understanding life, I started looking at it from a different perspective and realizing there's a lot of truth to it. But I mention that because it's a big part of um, what I bring to this political conversation, and in general, just it's a big part of who I am, is looking at life through a theological perspective as well as a scientific perspective. And it has a lot to do with my upbringing. Um, and then I ran away from home when I was 14 because my mother was abusive, and I love her and I forgive her. But I mention this because, again, this is a big part of who I am and what drives me and my journey. As an adult, I struggled with very severe post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's something that I've been able to overcome naturally and sustainably, and that's something I help people with. And it's also something that has called me, to run for president of the United States, is realizing there's a lot of people out there in the world that are in pain, that are in suffering, that have been through traumatic experiences, that have had less than perfect childhoods, that want to feel better, and that want to experience better, and I can help them. And so that's a big part of my journey. With PTSD, I had to essentially challenge the Western healthcare model because it didn't work for me, because it addresses typically symptoms or effects instead of causes. And the reason I mention this is because part of my platform is based on logic. And to me, the logical approach to fixing challenges in the world is by addressing the causes and not the effects. And so really kind of the theme that I'm hoping that people are catching here is I correlate all the pieces of my life and I look for the universal aspects so that I can help others apply them in their lives, because I don't believe that it's anybody's responsibility to try to save somebody who isn't willing to save themselves. We all have to do our own personal work to heal ourselves. The only thing that you and I can do is lead by example. So I try to hold myself to high standards, and I try to be as transparent as possible.
I love it. Every challenge can be overcome. And by the way, I met my wife in Romania as well, but way after communism was over, though.
I would love to hear about that sometime.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned that people have to help themselves, and that's really important because as a model, when we model things for people, it's up to them to take action on it and take the first step towards it, no matter how hard it seems. When people take that first step, it becomes very easy. And with people like you modeling, it's a great action. I love it. Uh,
Thank
Serene,
you.
what's your opinion on the biggest quality of great leaders?
Integrity. That's something that has been driving me the most, is the lack of integrity, and realizing that I have to have integrity to inspire others to have integrity so that we can change the face of leadership. And integrity includes admitting that you're human and that you're imperfect, and that you're not always going to do things that please everybody or even yourself, but you're going to try to do your best, and you're going to learn from your less than perfect actions and decisions, because a lot of times, especially in politics, people set different standards for politicians, forgetting that they're just as human as everybody else, and they're just as imperfect, and they don't necessarily know more than you. I try to hold myself to high standards because I want to lead the way, but I also want people to recognize the humanness. But again, it all comes down to integrity and just being honest about who we are, and our patterns as human beings, and just recognizing that they're going to carry on going forward, and the sooner we can admit it, the quicker we can advance collectively.
Yeah, I love that. If we had more politicians with integrity, we wouldn't be where we are today. That's for sure. And it's a big model, and it's something that we teach in all of our trainings as well. I mean, integrity is 100%. If you say something, do it and hold up to it, because your team depends on you. And and I can see that means a lot to you, and that's great. Um, would you say stepping out of your comfort zone is something that you do on a normal basis?
Well, I think we see ourselves differently than the rest of the world. And so, I see myself as very shy and meek sometimes, but I've had friends that I look up to that I think are very courageous tell me that I'm courageous. And so, I've started to change the way I look at myself, and that's also another reason that I'm running, is I realize, if I can have the courage to put myself out there and share my ideas, and risk everything essentially, um, then I can inspire others to do the same, because I know there are others that have great ideas that also have, challenging pasts that for whatever reasons are holding them back. And so, yeah, I think that that's something that I've had to learn to do, because freedom, liberty comes from being your most authentic self, and I believe it takes courage to be your most authentic self.
Yeah, you keep mentioning the trigger words that are so important to our trainings as well. You know, being your authentic self, and so many times our politicians are swayed through the years of political service, and they're swayed one way or the other, and they're no longer being their authentic self. They're no longer coming from integrity, and it's hard work. It really is. I mean, it's hard work to consistently do this because of your entire environment around you is I would assume pushing you to go the other direction, and it's almost a constant battle to maintain uh, peace and control. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's, been about 6 months since I registered with the Federal Election Commission and began my campaign. And I've taken it easy for the past few weeks because I realized I needed to recenter. That I have no regrets. There's nothing that I did that I'm embarrassed of, but I realized that I wasn't showing up as who I really am. That I started getting a little, I don't know what the right word is, but kind of pulled into playing politics, and not like, responding to things I didn't really need to respond to, or impulsively. It's like, this is a real test when you're out there. And so for me, I had to step back, and I said, okay, Serene, you're just getting started. You still have a few more months to go in this race. Is it that you bring that is unique? What are your strengths? okay, make sure that you focus on these all the time. Don't let people knock you down. Stay true to who you are, because you don't change the conversation if you keep responding in kind, right? And so, I say this because again, I want to be transparent. I am human, and that this is a process. I think that no matter where you are, that mastery takes time, and it's something that you have to consistently practice. And that, I'm grateful that I'm not impulsive in the sense, I don't say mean or hurtful things to people, so, but I just don't do things to my standards, right? So that's why I say, like, for others, they might not even notice that I've not been up to my own standards. But we have to hold our own selves to our own standards and be our own judges, and essentially, mind our own business, not judge others. I just wanted to throw that in because it's a
Uh,
big part of
Absolutely.
judgment.
Absolutely. So, do you believe that physical activity and having adrenaline in your body at times is important to uh, who we are and maintaining our ability to live an active life?
Oh my goodness, yes. So I've been studying, let's call it, metaphysics as the umbrella category since 2011. And part of that includes natural laws of the body. And there's only four: nourishment, movement, recuperation, and sanitation. Those are the four things all human beings have to do every day in correct amounts. And movement is super important because it distributes everything around the body, right? Like, the lymphatics, they don't have an internal pump system. So when you exercise, you actually clear toxins out of your system. So I do a cleanse as well once a quarter to move things at a cellular level out of my body as well, right? But one of the things that is really important about movement that people get confused about is there's what I consider natural movement, where you're just moving every joint and muscle in natural ways, and then there's artificial movement, which is exercise. And it's good, but it's not one size fits all. So that's the thing that a lot of people, I feel, sometimes don't necessarily understand about exercise, is that we have different bodies and different needs. And so it's really important to listen to your body. And so for me, I hike, I hula hoop, I do restorative yoga. Those are the practices that work for me. I've tried to do gyms, I've tried to do classes, they don't work for me. But it's so important because it keeps you healthy, it strengthens your immune system, it keeps your brain sharp. I mean, I'm not perfect either. I'm still working
Absolutely.
on it. But I have mentors that are in their 70s, and they do like body pump 3 times a week, this super intense workout at their gym, well, when it's open. And so I do surround myself with people that I look up to, so that I am influenced by their actions, because I know that's really important, to surround ourselves by people that we admire their qualities, and their behaviors in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you described lots of experiential activities as opposed to going and reading a book about doing the activities you just spoke about. You actually did them. You did the yoga. You know people that did the body pumping as you described. So I would assume, and tell me, how important is it to actually experience activities when you do it instead of just maybe listening to somebody lecture about it in a room?
Oh, well, it's just, we talked about this before the interview, and, I have aphantasia, which means I don't have the ability to imagine, like, visually things. And so when reading things in a book or listening to somebody describe something actually is very challenging for me, because I just can't see it. I have to get out there and do it. And like, I tried Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a while, and I had a private instructor, one of these great, famous guys, and I felt like I was such a pain in his rear end, because it just took me so long to figure out, the moves. Yeah, but it was much easier than if I were do it with a video, right? Because he was there to correct me. So yeah, I definitely need to do it to remember it.
Yeah, see that, people? Never read a book by a cover. This loving, calm, just perfectly postured, just toned person. Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, look out! That's awesome. That's awesome. So, would you recommend different companies and organizations doing outdoor adventure type activities and or actually taking their people out, doing, bringing them to a yoga class or bringing them to do some type of outdoor activity in the learning and team building process that they may go through.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun. Is you get people engaged and you get, I mean, the body doesn't like routine, so it's good to do different things too as well. It's like, we make new proteins when we do new things, but when we do the same things over and over again, like we don't make any new proteins, and that's actually how we age, or faster rather.
Right, right.
Yeah, so to me that sounds like that would be an exciting experience.
Excellent. And so what's the next step for you? What's on your agenda next here for the campaign?
Well, right now I am really focusing on my strengths. Aside from, I guess my strengths when I show up in, critical thinking, challenging times and stuff like that. But as far as, I'm a creator, for example, and I love to write. And so I've been making a lot of things for people to share with my original words to inspire people and for people to, just get to understand where I'm coming from better. And I'm also doing a lot more interviews because I want to be able to reach more people. And ultimately, this isn't about necessarily winning. Yes, I do want to win because that would give me the greatest opportunity to make a positive global impact. But this is about helping others. This is about empowering others, inspiring others, educating others. And so it's about reaching as many people as possible by being my most authentic self, which includes, writing, speaking, and, however else I show up in the world.
Well, I hope you win because I would love to be your head leadership trainer in your office. Believe me, I could put a suit and
Awesome.
tie on even though I'm wearing a black t-shirt.
Awesome. Well, we might have to make it a little more casual around there. So,
That would be awesome because I can't stand those things. I've done a lot in my life, and I've succeeded in business in since I was 16 years old. And this is how I dress: black t-shirt, black shorts, and sandals 10 months of the year. I don't need to buy a $2,000 suit because I am operating in my authentic self. I'm not trying to be someone that I'm not. I've been very good at
yeah,
it. And I can tell you, a lot of our listeners are listening to you, and I know who they are because I dealt with them for years, and the kind of people that we interview, the type of business people and entrepreneurs, they would love to stay in contact with you. Not just that, but I'm thinking they want to help you on your journey. Listening to you is just inspirational. How can they contact you if they would like to help you or get more information from you?
sure. And thank you for asking. So, the best way to contact me is to go to my website, serene2020.com, and sign up for my email list. That way, you'll get an email from me right away, and you can communicate with me directly. You can ask me questions, make suggestions. Also, I have tons of interviews and content on my website and links to my social media. I'm the most active on my Facebook page. So,
Excellent.
if people want to access original content, they can do that. And then if they want to donate, that's also on my website. But yeah, I'm very responsive for the time being as much as I can be.
I understand. Well, it must be taking on the massive challenge that you put in front of you. I can only imagine the different obstacles that you're going to encounter. And looking at you and listening to you, I think that you're going to bounce over them. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners are going to want to help you do that. So I encourage you guys, contact Sorinne. She's amazing, and help her on her journey any way that you can. And Sorinne, listen, it was such a pleasure having you on the show. Is there one last message that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Hmm. I love you, all of you. Thank you for being part of my human family.
That's beautiful. Sorinne, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I can't wait to come visit you in the Oval Office.
Me too.
Thank you, Sorinne. Have a great day. We'll see you next week on Leadership Lifestyles.